Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Volume 2, Episode 1 of the NFL Talk Series, team by team previews. Today, we're staying in the AFC North, and we're going to get to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, got a couple things to get to, a couple of updates. However, the biggest event in the world is back today. It's August 5th. You guys will be getting this August 6th, obviously. But the Rio Olympics are coming your way. Yep, it's that time of year when the world gets together and when competition actually makes develops friendships. The Olympics is just such an iconic moment. Every 4 years makes us anticipate it that much more. Alright, as we kick things off today, a couple of news and notes to get to. If you listened to my last podcast, yesterday's show, you probably heard it, but I'll just quick mention it. Coming up this Sunday, I'm going to kick off my weekly Twitter follow. I'll have one account that I'll be featuring each week, and I'll talk a little bit about them at the beginning of Sunday's show. So that's starting this Sunday. You guys can check that out on Twitter, and I'll be also giving out links on Facebook and Google Plus as well to those Twitter accounts that you can follow. Also, comment on any posts on Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus. You can also post a visitor post on Facebook if you want. If you'd like to be in our Fantasy Football League, I am collaborating with Youth News. It's a music and sports show, but I'm the co-host, along with T. Nos. So I'm sort of collaborating with myself. Nonetheless, we are doing a Fantasy Football League, so just comment your email address if you'd like to be in it. If you listen to Youth News at all, or if you listen to NFL Talk, then go ahead and comment your email address anywhere on social media, and we'll be sure to get you involved. Also, got the new poll up. Does Ryan Fitzpatrick look like a tennis ball? According to the Jets center Nick Mangold. Vote on that on all social media. And we're closing in on 100 Twitter followers. I believe we're up at 79 right now. So keep following the Twitter account at NFL with Caleb. All right, enough chit-chat. Time to get to the news. The Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, we did my team yesterday, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Today we'll be breaking down the 2016 Baltimore Ravens. And looks like the Ravens are going to play it smart and sit Joe Flacco the entire preseason. I say it's smart because obviously last year he had that gruesome injury towards the end of I say gruesome, but in essence he did play through the entire game literally with a torn ACL. If you guys remember that. I'm not entirely sure which game it was, and off the top of my head I cannot recall. But I'm pretty sure he played the entire game and overtime with a torn ACL. Brutal for the Ravens, brutal for Flacco himself, but it looks like he will be back in business for the start of the season. He was just cleared for training camp, but the Ravens aren't going to risk any setbacks. It's a little bit of a concern, I think, but the Ravens are doing the smart thing. Playing it safe. They don't want anything to go wrong with their starting quarterback because their season would be down the tubes. Smart move for the Ravens. Sit him out the entire preseason. Look, the preseason, I understand why they have it, but at the same time, why not let it all out in the field and do crazy things? I really don't understand why each team doesn't go for it every fourth down and why they don't go for two every single time they score. Doesn't matter. Isn't the main purpose of the preseason so you can see how your players, how prepared they are, how ready they are to get out there on the football field and start playing some actual games? That's the point of it, right? So go crazy. Take chances. Drive fast. Take chances. I think that's what NFL football teams should do. But the biggest thing is sit your best players. And Flacco, obviously, one of the best players on the Ravens. Smart choice. I'm still not looking towards Flacco in fantasy that much. I mean, maybe in 2 quarterback leagues as a QB2, but he's not in my top 10. Nonetheless, a smart choice for the Baltimore Ravens, sitting Flacco the entire preseason. Justin Forsett also coming off an injury, but everything looks good to go for him, and he's expected to get the majority of the carries this season. Forsett just recently joked, quote, "What's running back by committee?" unquote. And then, again, quote, "I don't understand that," unquote. Of course he's joking. But this will be an interesting topic to monitor, because there really aren't too many teams anymore that don't go at least some form of running back committee. For the Ravens to have a go-to guy, to have a guy that handles, 80%, 90% of the workload, that's a really solid fantasy target. I like Forsett this year. Now, Buck Allen is going to get some work, because we saw later in the season last year, Buck Allen, he did look like he could be a solid fantasy, or I should say, solid NFL starting running back. However, Forsett is going to be their go-to guy. I like him in fantasy. But recently, Forsett also said that he thinks he can be a 200-yard carry, 1,000-yard rusher. The guy's 31, or it's going to be 31. He's coming off an injury-shortened year, but he is still confident, and confidence is a very key element to have as a football player, period, but even more importantly as a running back. Lorenzo Taliaferro, the guy that backed up Forsett last year, does not look so good. The Ravens recently placed their running back on the active/pup list. Taliaferro dealt with a foot injury during the offseason. He was expected to be ready for camp, but the Baltimore Sun reports that Taliaferro did not respond well, or his foot rather, did not respond well to the treatment that the training staff had given him. So it didn't go quite as well as they hoped. Look, it's not even a lock that this guy's going to make the final roster, especially with they've got a pretty deep backfield. Recently acquired Terrence West, and he's number 3 back right now. You got Buck Allen ahead of him, who I like as a talent, and then Justin Forsett, who had an explosive year last year, despite his age. So they're going to need some depth. But Taliaferro is not a lock at all. I would not be surprised if he did not make the final roster. And then we move on to the receiving core, where we have an old guy who keeps saying he's going to retire and then keeps changing his mind. Steve Smith Sr. He's still on the PUP list with an Achilles injury. He revealed that he suffered a double rupture of his Achilles last November. Look, I don't even know what that means. That's like Greek to me. But supposedly, it's nothing to be taken lightly. According to Steve Smith's doctor, Robert Anderson, it looks like, quote, raw shredded chicken. Oh, excuse me, not according to his doctor, rather according to his wife. According to his doctor, it was the first double rupture that he had seen ever. And then his wife says that it looks like raw shredded chicken. Steve Smith also said the pain was unbearable. Now, if Steve Smith says the pain's unbearable, it's probably unbearable. Look, he's past his prime. He's 37. We know that. He appears to be going downhill. This is bad news for his fantasy stock. His attitude can only take him so far. I think it's time for the Ravens to be looking to back up Steve Smith Sr. And they did so with Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace is a guy that's worth looking at. He worked with the first team offense this past Sunday. It's clear that the Ravens have high hopes for him, expect him to do great things. Look, the Ravens got to play Mike Wallace twice a year several years ago when he was with the Steelers. They know that he can make plays. Now, Wallace is 30, but he's not past his prime yet, I don't think. He made the news. He flunked his conditioning test the first day of camp, so that was pretty funny. Wallace is something else. But it's critical for the Ravens, going to be critical, for them to be able to back up Wallace. Obviously, you've still got, or to back up Smith Sr., rather. You've got Kamar Aiken in there as well. Kamar Aiken is, quote-unquote, the Ravens' number 2 receiver heading into training camp. We'll see how all that plays out. Last year, 75 catches, 944 yards, along with 5 touchdowns. Not a bad year last year, but we'll see how Mike Wallace affects Kamar Aiken's fantasy stock. The Ravens' receiving corps looks like a hot mess. It's a fantasy quagmire, as some have called it. And obviously they also boosted their receiving corps with tight end Ben Watson, a guy who I really like, played with the Saints last year and had actually a half-decent year. Played with the Patriots before the Saints and also the Browns. Caught 74 balls, 825 yards, and scored 6 touchdowns. Look, Ben Watson is nobody to be laughed at. No one to be looked over. He can make plays. And I really like Watson. I think it was a really great sign for the Ravens. And he should be able to support the Ravens in the year that Steve Smith is most likely going to take a decline. Yeah. But the Ravens' receiving corps going to be something to watch. Because I don't know how long Steve Smith Sr. can keep on doing this. I don't think for very long. He is 37 after all. I know Tom Brady is still going strong at 39, but Steve Smith Sr. is not Tom Brady. There's some comparisons there in the way they play. But Steve Smith is not immortal. Dang, we only got 2 minutes left in this podcast. It's time for me to give out my X Factor and my record prediction. Looking at the schedule right now. I'm going to go out and give my X Factor first because I already have that one down. Yeah, so my X Factor is Steve Smith Sr. Like I said, the guy's not immortal. Keep an eye on him. Because obviously with that double ruptured Achilles that looks like raw shredded chicken, the guy might be experiencing some pain this year. It depends on how well he can play. Can he still play with that tenacity that he played with last year? And is that going to be able to carry him far enough? Is he going to be able to help the Ravens out, help Joe Flacco out in the best way he can? I know he's past his prime. But we'll monitor Steve Smith Sr. He is my X Factor. Not enough upgrade for the Ravens. They're going 7-9. Just looked at their schedule. Look, they got to play the Steelers twice and the Bengals twice, which right there I think is 4 losses, to be honest. I understand they beat the Steelers twice last year. I think it was a fluke, and I know that the Ravens are tough, especially against the Steelers. I don't think that's going to happen again this year. They've got to play the Patriots in Foxborough. Other than that, though, they've got some fairly easy games. I just don't think the Ravens are going to necessarily be good enough to beat teams like the Bills, Jets, Dolphins, who I think are all going to be tough. Also the Raiders, Redskins, Jaguars all in there. You judge whether or not those are hard games. I don't know. But one thing is for sure, the Ravens will not be making the playoffs. Sorry, not this year. Man, the time's winding down. Thank you guys for listening to today's podcast. Overall episode number 6, volume 2, episode 2. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.